You're watching the Press Row, where we're hitting the fast-forward button on Oklahoma State's football season and hitting stop on Halloween. From the Opubco Studios in Oklahoma City, I'm Mike Sherman, and here to discuss the game of the year in the Big 12 Conference. Our Oklahoman columnist, Jenny Carlson, Barry Trammell. That's right, isn't it, Barry? Oklahoma State, Texas, in Stillwater on October 31st, Big 12 game of the year.
Well, it certainly is setting that up that way after Oklahoma's missteps and lost to Texas last Saturday. That puts OSU Texas as sort of the marquee game. Now, the Bedlam would still have a factor in that, and Texas has shown over the last few years that it can stumble. But right now, it looks like OSU Texas will be the biggest determinant in who wins the South.
I definitely agree. I got a chance to see the Cowboys last weekend against Missouri in person. I think, despite everything that they are without Kendall Hunter, without Dez Bryant, and you can even go back further and say without Ori Lemon and the guys that they lost before the season even started, despite that, I think they're playing some pretty good ball right now. Zach Robinson, I thought, played his best game of the year. It wasn't statistically just off the charts, but he looks confident. He looks solid. It looks like he's recapturing some of that Zach Robinson we saw a year ago. And I think if they have that paired with a defense that, you know, at times can be okay, held Missouri without a point in the second half, I think it sets up to be a really interesting matchup with Texas.
Barry, you wrote in your column on Tuesday, free Dez Bryant. Any chance that Dez Bryant's back in time for the Texas game?
I think there's a chance. I think it's unlikely. It looks to me like the NCAA is sitting on the mountaintop and refusing to answer any calls. I think there's a chance, and you just never know. It's going to strike. Lightning is going to strike. You just don't know when it's going to strike. I think it's possible, but unlikely that Dez could be back by Texas. I think it's possible or likely that they could say between now and then, hey, pal, you're out for the year. So he might get word from the NCAA, might not be the news he wants.
Don't you think one of the most frustrating things about this whole thing is not having any sort of timetable? I know it's disappointing for Dez Bryant to be without his eligibility right now, to be on the sidelines. But if I was in his place, one of the things that would make me most frustrated is not even knowing when a decision was going to come down. The NCAA hasn't said it's going to be a month, it's going to be 2 weeks, it's going to be 2 days. They haven't said anything, and to me, that would be the most frustrating thing, is not even to know when that call might come, that lightning in a bottle. And I think that would be a great first step in easing a lot of minds of, okay, at least now we know when that decision's coming. But that may never come from the NCAA.
I corresponded with Boone Pickens yesterday. Boone is very interested in the case, but Boone was not really politicking or campaigning to get Dez reinstated. He just wants the NCAA to say something. He said, what can we do to make them tell us one way or the other? If Boone Pickens, one of the most influential people in America, if he feels frustrated about it, chances are there's not much that can be done. We're going to have to sit and wait.
Let's see on Boone Pickens' to-do list. I think convert the United States to wind power, get the NCAA to reform. Which of those two is more likely? I'm going to go with wind. Okay. Has anything happened, though, guys, in Dez's absence that could really help OSU against Texas?
Well, I think the emergence of some of these other wide receivers has been a great unexpected turn of events for Oklahoma State. I mean, Hubert Anium was a guy that we sort of kind of heard about in the preseason as a possibility, as a backup, and a guy that you might see catch a ball or two. He got 10 passes against Missouri for 119 yards. This guy is legitimately good, and if Dez Bryant comes back, he's going to take a spot right back from Hubert Anium. But here's a guy that can legitimately make plays in the passing game for the Cowboys.
He's done a very nice job, and frankly, the same things happened with Toston and Hunter. Even more so, Toston has filled in for the absence of Kendall Hunter. So the Cowboys have really softened the blow of these losses pretty well. Better than the losses down in Norman with Brian Broyles and Jermaine Gresham and the type. Sooners really have never filled in the spots for those guys. So Cowboys have done pretty well. That said, they need Dez against Texas. He'd make a huge difference in the kicking game, make a huge difference on offense. You're not likely to grind out a lot of long drives against Texas. You're going to need some big plays. Dez is Mr. Big Play.
You're telling me that Hubert Anium, after 10 catches on Saturday night against Missouri, is going back to the bench when Dez Bryant comes back? The Cowboys have been looking for a second wide receiver. What is going on?
Not. I would hope not.
But he plays Dez's position,
I
and
would
therein
hope-
lies the problem. They
I
got to
would-
figure out how to get them both on the field.
I would hope they just say, here, take 10 steps over and play the other position. So, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Keep Hubert on the field.
Okay, the Longhorns are coming up a week from now, but what about them? And Barry, what did you see on the field at the Cotton Bowl last Saturday that really should most concern the Cowboys?
Most should concern the Cowboys. Well, their defense is very good. They will really get after Zach Robinson. Cowboys are going to have to roll the pocket and keep Zach on the move because Texas will get after you. They'll rush that passer, and they do a really good job on defense. Conversely, I don't think the Texas offense is near what it's been in the last year, particularly with Colt McCoy. Running game is so-so. You can reach Colt McCoy. I think Texas will score more on Oklahoma State, but I think Oklahoma State will score more on Texas. I expect a fairly high-scoring game.
I think that the fact that Colt McCoy hasn't shown himself to be the Colt McCoy of last year, he's more the Colt McCoy of 2 years ago, I still would worry about him. He's a guy that has that ability to throw it and to run it, and those are the types of quarterbacks that have given the Cowboys the most problems. So on defense, I would still be very mindful of what Colt McCoy is doing. On the other side, Texas and their defense, they hit you. That was something we've talked about since you guys saw the game in person in Dallas. They will hit you, and so this offense is going to have to, have holding on to the ball in mind, being tough when they're running after the catch or after that first contact. Those are the things that I would be most mindful of if I was Oklahoma State.
Okay, there's a small matter of 2 Big 12 road games in Columbia and Waco this Saturday. Any chance trip-ups in those games could really mess up what could be the most consequential game in the Big 12 for OSU ever?
Well, I think, surprisingly enough, I think Texas has a little bit of a tougher road. Texas has proven over the last few years that it can stumble in unsuspecting places in the Big 12. Missouri's hurt. You saw them, Jenny. Blaine Gabbert not playing nearly as well now as he was earlier after got that ankle sprain against Nebraska. So if he got healthy, Missouri's got some weapons. So a Saturday night in Columbia, I could sort of see an upset. Without Robert Griffin in Waco, I don't see any way Baylor can beat Oklahoma State. Baylor's a shell of its former self. Some optimism in Baylor in Waco early in September. They go to Wake Forest and win, but Saturday they went to Ames and lost to Iowa State. I think they'll move the ball some on Oklahoma State, but I think the Cowboys will score a bunch. I would expect the Cowboys to win fairly convincingly.
It looked like Baylor went back to their second-string quarterback, their third-string guy when they were in Norman. I was really impressed with. So I'm not sure they're playing the right quarterback. I think Oklahoma State, there's always when you go on the road a chance for upset, but I think Oklahoma State has a really good chance to go to Waco to win that game. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Missouri has in Blaine Gabbert. Is that ankle healthy? Is it, closer to healthy? It sure didn't look like it late in that game on Saturday in Stillwater. So if he can provide some passing game mojo for that team and sort of pair that up with the nice running backs that Missouri has, I don't know. Maybe in a shootout, Missouri could pull an upset. And at home, if you can get the momentum going your way, weird things could happen. I think it's a small chance that either team loses, but on the road, that's always a possibility.
Thanks, guys. That's all for the Press Row, but you can stay with the best coverage team anywhere every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoma.